Now let us discuss about attributes of relationship types. The relationship type can also have attributes similar to that of entity types. Now if you consider the example, if you take a department table, or if you take let me see here, yeah, if you take a project table, there is an attribute means a field, you know that, right? So you might be confused what is the attribute. There is an attribute where we also keep a record of a number of hours per week an employee works in a particular project. So what we can do is in works on relationship, we can add an attribute which is hours attribute. So in the table directly we have taken it as a field. In project table you can just cross check it if you want. So that is an attribute which is called as a relationship type attribute. So in another example, we can include a date on which the manager started managing the department. So here yeah, you can see start date, the manager who manages the department, that's a manager start date we can use. So this is also an attribute relationship type. Like that we can specify the attribute relationship types. Now let us discuss about weak entity types. Now exactly what is a weak entity, or what is a weak entity type? So to understand that, we should go back to the figure. Just a minute, I want to go back to that same figure here. So we have not discussed about ER diagram notations. So I want to give you the brief introduction of ER diagram notation so that you will get an idea when we design ER diagram how we have to go about this. In the next topic we will discuss about ER diagram notations. Here you see each entity are defined in a rectangular boxes, a small boxes, correct, rectangular boxes, and each attributes we have defined in a oval, correct, and each relationship in a diamond. And if you consider this relationship here depends of, it is not so strong relationship or even dependent. If you take, if it is given in, it is given in a, it's not a rectangle, it's a double box rectangle, right? So when you specify such a entity, it is called as a weak entity. Now exactly what is a weak entity? We have to understand what is meant by weak entity. Here the entity dependent is not directly participating into the company, rather he is not a regular entity type. He is a relative of an employee who will be benefited if any death or any employee perks or anything has to be handed over, that is given to the dependent, and maybe more than one dependent also. And if you see the relationship in that entity, it is 1 to n relationship. For one employee it may contain more than one dependent, correct. Now here when we talk about the dependent, the independent is not at all involved in the company. Only if any benefit he gets from the employee, that will be given to the dependent. So in our example we got a first name of the dependent, date of birth, sex, relationship means maybe wife, son, daughter, or whatever it is, and they depend on a distinct employee, a certain employee, or it may have the same name for a different employees. Means here it is like this, the name of the dependent may be same and they may belong to the different employees, but they are still distinct entities. Actually, the weak entity normally they have a partial key, which is the attribute they can uniquely identify weak entities. Now let us take one example where we assume that no two dependents of the same employee have ever same first name. The attribute name of the dependent is partial key. Now in ER diagram, if you see, both weak entity type and its identifying relationships are distinguished by surrounding their boxes and a diamond with the double lined. So that is indicating it's a partial key or a partial key attribute, underlined with the dashed or a dotted line. So we will just go back and we will just check it once again. Here you see dependent, they are written in a double line box, correct, and diamond also it is given in a double line box, and you see here name, it is underlined with a dashed underline, so you know that. So full straight line, it is a it is what we can call is a key constraint, whereas dotted underline for name, it is indicating it's a partially participating, correct. So it is a partial key attribute. In this one, the name is a partial key attribute. Okay, so here partial key attribute, it can relate to same entity or owner entity, any of the entity. Such attributes or such entities are called as a weak entity types.